ॐ वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषये भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। In this shloka, Gurave Sarvalokanam Vishaje Bhavaroginam. Bhavaroginam na should be Murdhani Nakara. It's a typo. I think in all the places Nakara is that. I didn't see that properly. It should be Murdhanya Nakara. Bhavaroginam. In many places it is I have used as Danti Nakara. It's a mistake. It should be Murdhani Nakara. I observed it just now. Bhavaroginam. Narayanam Padmabhuvam Vasishtam Shaktim cha Tatputra Parasharam cha Yasam Shukam Gaudapadam Mahantam Govinda Yogindra Mathasya Shishyam Shri Shankaracharya Mathasya Padmapadancha Asta Malakam cha Shishyam Tantotakam Vartikakaramanyan Asmadgurun Santatamanatosmi Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashyakrito Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Sakshat Kritam Dayanandam Paramarthasvarupinam Tattvajnana Prashastaram Pranatosmi Param Padam. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We have completed the first section of the Pratama Mundaka. Mundaka Upanishad has got 3 Mundakas, 3 chapters. Each chapter having each chapter having two sections. So first Mundaka Prathama section, Prathama Khanda was completed. In the Prathama Mundaka first section, the Acharya Angiras, he talked about two types of Vidya, knowledge. Paravidya, Aparavidya. Even though the disciple Shaunaka, his question was only with regard to Paravidya, but Acharya ji, the teacher, in order to give the complete knowledge, he talked about two types of Vidya, Paravidya, Aparavidya. Paravidya is the Vidya, what he asked, and that is what to be desired to be accomplished by the Shaunaka. So Paravidya is the Vidya, is the sadhyam. It is the goal. For that sadhya, certain preparations are required, for which the another Vidya, which is Aparavidya, is presented by the Shastram. So Aparavidya also has its place. Even though the goal is Paravidya, Aparavidya also has its place, as its significance. So Paravidya is the sadhyam and Aparavidya is preparation to gain that Paravidya. Paravidya talked about Paravidya, that is from the mantra, Etadadresham Agragyam, and all these are the topic of Paravidya. Only in few mantras Paravidya talked about. Then he mentioned two types of Vidya. There he told Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvaveda, the four Vedas, and also the Vedangas, Shiksha, Kalpa, Vyakaranam, Niruktam, Jyotisham, Chandas, Iti, all the Vedangas. All the Vedangas are Aparavidya. Even the Upanishad also is Aparavidya. If you take Upanishad to be just the Shabda Rashi, if you take Upanishad to be the Shabda Rashi, it is also Aparavidya. And what is Paravidya? What is conveyed, what is understood, the vision of the words of the Upanishad, that is Paravidya. Bhashyakara clearly in his Bhashyam, he mentioned. Therefore, the Upanishad can be taken as Paravidya, even for our understanding. The last part of the Veda, Upanishad, Vedanta, can be considered as Paravidya because it is a means to gain the end, the knowledge. Therefore, the means are also called by the name of the end to be accomplished. Therefore, Upanishad also can be called by the name Paravidya. Nothing wrong in that. But if you take Upanishad to be just the collection of words, Shabda Rashi, then it is Paravidya. That understanding should be clear. So if you take the words, if you take the Upanishad and name it as Paravidya. From the standpoint of the end to be accomplished through the means, it is okay. If that is the case, the last portion of the Veda is Vedanta Upanishad. Then the first portion of the Veda, Pratama Bhaga, Antima Bhaga of each Veda is Vedanta. Vedanam Antaha, Vedantaha. The end portion of the Veda, it's a positional name. It's called Vedanta Upanishad. Then the Pratama Bhaga, the first part. The first part is a voluminous one. It's a voluminous. The first part of the Veda can be divided, can be classified from different angle. It can be classified. It can be classified as Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka. The last part is Upanishad. This is one way of presenting the classification of the Veda, and therefore the first part has got Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka. Another way of dividing it, classifying the Veda is, the first part has got Karma and Upasana, the last part Upanishad, Vedanta. So Karma and Upasana, they form the most part of the Veda. Therefore it is a voluminous one. Lot of karmas are mentioned, lot of upasanas. Even in the Upanishads, upasanas are mentioned. If you take Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, in the beginning itself, this Ashwamedha Upasana talked about. A lot of upasanas are mentioned. Even in Taittiriya Upanishad, in the beginning, there are many upasanas. Vyakruti Upasanam and the Sandhi Upasanam. All these are the upasana, the meditation presented by the Veda. The Vyakruti Upasanam of the Taittiriya Upanishad and the Samhita Upasanam of the Taittiriya Upanishad, these upasanas are important. For a sadhaka, these upasanas are important. Because all these upasanas and karma only lead the person to Vedanta. Therefore, karma upasana has got a role. It's important. Aparavidya has a place. To come to Vedanta, a person must have done karma, certain karma, Vaidika karma. He must have done, and he must have done some upasana. Then only the person can come to Vedanta. There is no doubt about it. This is how it is. This is the Shraddha. This is the Shraddha we have towards the Veda. A person cannot just jump to Vedanta and understand. So karma and upasana, the person must have done either in this janma or previous janma or in some janma, the person must have done some karma. He must have done certain karma and upasana. Karma could be even simple Sandhya Vandanadi karma or Agnihotra karma. Agnihotra karma is the first karma. The Vaidika karma, Agnihotra is the simplest karma. And some upasanas. Why this is important? Because karma gives Chitta Shuddhi and upasana gives Chitta Naishchalyam. Only when Chitta Shuddhi and Chitta Naishchalyam are there, then only Vedanta Knowledge of Vedanta will fructify in the form of moksha. Therefore, therefore, therefore also, because we come to Vedanta, it is not proper to dismiss karma and upasana, because karma and upasana, it helps a person to grow forward, to understand. When the person is totally committed, has got complete vairagyam, then he can commit only to Vedanta. But as a sadhaka who is progressing, slowly, for him karma also has got a role to play, upasana also. Therefore, karma, upasana, Vedanta, the study of Upanishad, all these things can be done parallelly also. It doesn't mean there is samuchaya. No, there is no samuchaya. For jnanam, for the Upanishad jnanam alone gives you moksha. The knowledge of Vedanta jnanam alone gives moksha. There is no samshaya, no doubt with regard to that. But for the person who is a sadhaka, who is preparing himself for this knowledge, who is doing both the job, preparation as well as he wants to accomplish the goal. Therefore, he can parallelly do karma and upasana. He has got the knowledge of Vedanta. Since he lacks in Chitta Shuddhi and Chitta Naishchalyam, therefore karma and upasana also can be performed. It doesn't mean samuchaya. It doesn't mean the combination of karma and upasana. It doesn't mean karma plays a role in gaining moksha. Karma plays a role indirectly through Chitta Shuddhi Prapti. Upasana also plays a role because it gives Chitta Naishchalyam. That the Chitta Naishchalyam, the one-pointedness, the attention, that is important. Therefore, upasana also important, karma and upasana. The simple Sandhyavandana karma, it is Nitya karma, it is karma, offering argya to the Surya Devata, offering argya to all the Navagraha Devatas, other Devatas, Brahma Yajna, all these are the karma. And when it comes to the japa, Gayatri Mantra japa, that is upasana. So, even Sandhya Vandana also has got both karma and upasana. Before doing starting the Gayatri Mantra japa, the Dhyana Shloka is chanted. So, Dhyana Shloka is the preparation for the upasana. You are preparing to focus on the Devata for Dhyana Shloka, which could be Saguna Upasana, Nirguna Upasana. Upasana is the form of japa. Therefore, because I study Vedanta doesn't mean I should give up Sandhya Vandanadi karma. Not required. It should not be. It should not be given up. Unless the person gets sannyasa, till then he has to keep on doing this karma and upasana. Because it is Vigitam. Veda Vigitam. So therefore in this section of the Upanishad will talk about Aparavidya. Aparavidya is talked about not to present its importance. I presented the importance because we are at different levels of growth, different levels of sadhaka. So therefore, its importance I presented. But Upanishad presenting the Aparavidya not to, yeah, that too in the Upanishad itself, it presents not to present its importance, but to show its limitations. That is why is that there is no samuchaya. Upanishad presents Aparavidya to show the limitations of Aparavidya, the limitations of karma, the limitations of upasana. Upanishad presents to present its limitation and therefore to create vairagya. One Tikakara, he says, in his introduction to this, the first shloka of this section, Parapara Vidyayogo Vishayau Samsara Mokshakyau Vaktum Uttara Grantaha Arabhyate. Tatra Samsara Swarupa Jnanam Vina Vairagya Asambhavat Vairagyartam Aparavidya Vishaya Samsarasya Swarupam Aha iti. Para apara vidyayogo vishayo. This para vidya, apara vidya. Para vidya for moksha, apara vidya for samsara. Apara vidya, it perpetuates samsara. There, samsara swarupa jnanam vina, without the knowledge, without understanding the swarupam of samsara, vairagya is not possible. Vairagya is not possible without understanding the nature of samsara. Therefore, vairagyartam, therefore, in order to instill vairagya, this aparavidya, which is the vishaya of samsara, its swarupam, Upanishad says in the first mantra. In the following mantra, starting with the first mantra, this section talks about aparavidya. So in this context, the Upanishad presents aparavidya to show its limitation. So therefore, the aparavidya, otherwise called the Veda Purva, the first part of the Veda, where many types of karma, various types of karma and upasana are talked about. These karmas are Veda Vigita and upasanas are also sometimes as part of the karma, or the people who have taken up the Vanaprastha ashrama, the third stage of life, they do these upasanas. Because there are no karmas, physical karmas to be performed by them. Because no materials, no people available in the Vanam. Therefore, they do the same karma in the form of the upasana. So, karma and upasana. Sarva Devata Dhyana. That is called upasana. So, karma and upasana are aparavidya. So, aparavidya means Dvaitam is involved. Dvaita Vidya is aparavidya. Wherever duality, Dvaitam is involved, Dvaitam is there. Subject, object is there. Subject and other karakas are there. They are aparavidya only. In karma, there are other karakas. In karma, karta is there. The object of oblations, karma are there, and karana by which the karma is done. The ladle and other things are there. Sampradana to whom it is offered. All the karakas are involved. Brahmarpanam Brahma Havihi. Brahmagno Brahmanahutam. Brahmaiva tena gantavyam. Brahma karma samadhina. This shloka, even though it does karaka upamardhanam, but all the karakas are mentioned. Karakas which are involved in the karma. And the person who has come to Vedanta, he will see all the karakas are nothing but Brahma. All the karakas, they get resolved in the knowledge of Brahma. That is for the person who has come to Vedanta completely. For others, all the karakas are involved, therefore Dvaitam is involved. Even in Upasana also. In Upasana also, Dvaitam is involved. In the meditation, the meditator is there. The meditator is there, and the object of meditation is there, and meditation is there. So duality is there. So wherever this duality division is there, it is Aparavidya only. Subject-object division is there. Subject-object division in the form of meditator, meditated, Bhakta, Devata, Jivatma, Paramatma. These divisions are there. Therefore, it is Dvaita Vidya. Whether it is karma or upasana, it is Dvaita Vidya only. Therefore, all karmas and upasanas are apara only. And therefore, apara vidya, since it involves karma and upasana, and karma involves the shariram, vak, and upasana involves manas. So karma is sharira pradhanam or vak pradhanam, and upasana is manas pradhanam. So where the shariram, manas, vak, all these certain things are pradhanam. Sharira pradhanam is karma. Manas pradhanam is upasana. So therefore, the difference, the main difference between karma and upasana, is karma is sharira pradhanam, upasana is manas pradhanam. Through this karma and upasana, the sadhyam, what is desired to be accomplished is artha and karma. Therefore, whether it is sharira pradhana karma or manas pradhana karma, these karmas are meant for gaining artha kama. Therefore, artha kama pradhana karmas, artha kama pradhana karmas, they all come under aparavidya. And moksha pradhana karma. Moksha pradhana karma. What is moksha pradhana karma? That is only knowledge. In fact, that is not karma. But the same karma, if it is done for gaining knowledge, then it becomes karma yoga. The same karma, if it is done for gaining jnana yogyata, then it becomes karma yoga. That is what Bhagavan Krishna says in the Gita. Therefore, Gita is complete presentation. How a karma can become just mere a karma for gaining artha kama, or how a karma can become a yoga, a means for gaining jnana yogyata and jnanam. That makes a difference. So, for a mumukshu, same karma becomes pradhana karma, moksha pradhana karma, if the commitment is towards moksha. It's a karma yogi, mumukshu. The karma yogi also has to perform the karma. Being karma yogi has to perform the karma. He has to perform the karma and upasana because he is in the preparation stage. His goal is not artha kama. He doesn't have kamya karma. He doesn't have desire for any desire to gain any desire to gain particular ends. Therefore, there is no kamya karma. So the karma what is done, it is done for gaining chitta shuddhi. Therefore, it all will come under sattvika karma. Chitta Shuddhi Pradhana Karmani, Nishkama Karma. That is called Nishkama Karma. Sakama Karma, Nishkama Karma. Sakama karma is done with the desire. The desire is, and the goals are Artha or Kama. And the karma which is done with the gain to Chitta Shuddhi, that is Nishkama Karma, which is Sattvika Karma. And the person who does, the Mumukshu, is a Karma Yogi. So all the karmas, the Nitya Karma, what the person does for Chitta Shuddhi, karma will come under Moksha Pradhana Karma. Because it helps the person to become a qualified person to gain jnana. Therefore, Aparavidya as a sadhaka, it is important. Aparavidya as a sadhaka is important. At the same time, the limitations of Aparavidya has to be understood. In fact, Aparavidya, this karma upasana, when a person becomes qualified, automatically it will drop. Automatically it will drop, or the person can choose to drop it by taking sannyasa. That is what real sannyasa is. In fact, the real sannyasi is one who drops all these karmas ritually through the ritual, through the sannyasa ritual, by doing the sannyasa ritual. There is Oma involved, Viraja Oma. There he gives up, he takes the permission of the Veda to give up all the karma. Because the karma has done, has served its purpose. Therefore, he gives up. The person either voluntarily gives up by taking sannyasa, or the person, for the matured person, his karma upasana automatically drop because it has served its purpose. It has served the purpose of giving the Chitta Shuddhi and Chitta Nishchalya. It has given him Vairagya. It has given him Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti. So that is the purpose of this karma upasana, Aparavidya. Therefore, Aparavidya has its significance. Because it is Aparavidya, it is not for dismissal. It has its place. Vairagyam is important. Without Vairagyam, Shastra Patanam will not fructify. And for an Adhikari, Vairagya is important. Viveka Vairagya. The first one is Viveka, next one is Vairagya. So, therefore, in this section, we will see the Upanishad presenting Aparavidya and showing its limitation. By showing its limitation, the Upanishad asks the sadhaka to do karma, to convert the karma into a yoga. Even though karma is limited, that the karma can be converted to a yoga. Showing the limitations is not for giving up the karma. That becomes a negligence of the duty, and the person becomes a pramada. He becomes a lazy person, alasaha. Because of many people, because of laziness, because of this laziness, they don't sit for Sandhya Vandanam. Trikala Sandhya Vandanam, 3 times, the minimum karma is Sandhya Vandanam, Trikala Sandhya Vandanam. They have got time for everything, but not to sit for the Sandhya Vandanam. It is laziness. And the argument what they will give is, since we have come to Vedanta, we are studying Vedanta, therefore these karmas have got, these karmas have crossed over. No, it's not like that. It is purely laziness. If a person gives up karma because of laziness, that is not Vairagya. Vairagya is only with regard to the result of the karma pala. Vairagya is only with regard. That is why say Raga Dvesha. Raga and Dvesha with regard to the karma pala, that neutralization of raga dvesha, that that is the result of the karma yoga. Your 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 commitment to the karma, your commitment to karma, not for gaining certain ends. Your commitment to karma is for this neutralization of this raga dvesha. So raga and dvesha for the karma pala. So with regard to the karma pala, there is certain that need to be cultivated, certain samatvam. Samatvam need to be cultivated. That is why karma yoga is prescribed. That karma yoga is for gaining maturity. That karma yoga is for gaining maturity. Even though karma gives drishtapalam, adrishtapalam. Karma gives any karma. Vaidika karma gives drishtapalam, adrishtapalam. And the person is not interested in the palam, any limited palam. He is interested in gaining the maturity, which is required for the assimilation of the Vedanta. So, since his commitment is for gaining maturity, therefore he does continues to do karma. As a karma yogi, he continues to do the karma. That karma and upasana, after a certain period of time, having done its purpose, automatically it drops. It gives him enough vairagya, and therefore he gives up and takes to sannyasa. That is why this Upanishad is called Mundaka Upanishad, Mundanam, taking one to Jnanam. The Jnanam is presented in the form of Mundanam. Mundanam stands for sannyasa, need not physical sannyasa. It could be a manasa sannyasa. Continuing whichever ashrama the person is, the person can still be a sannyasi. Another important thing is, there is a wrong understanding that person studying Vedanta the person studying Vedanta often has this question of taking up sannyasa. This sannyasa need not be physical sannyasa. Sannyasa is jnana karma sannyasa. As I said before, nobody is a real sannyasi. Because to take sannyasa, the person giving up the karma, the giving up karma is only possible when you do karma. When no karmas are done in this time, who does what karma? No Vaidika karmas we do. The simplest karma, if at all, we do is only Sandhya Vandanadi karma. Sandhya Vandanam only. There is no other karma. So, what karma you will give up? There is no karma what we perform. So, really we don't give up any karma. So, therefore the sannyasa, the sannyasa is not physical sannyasa. Sannyasa is jnana karma sannyasa. That is what Bhagavan Krishna emphasized in Gita. Jnanena karma sannyasa. The giving up the kartrutvam. One can continue to be in whichever ashrama the person is. He can continue to be at the same time giving up the karma pala through the gaining of this knowledge. It is called jnana karma sannyasa. Therefore, because a person studies Vedanta doesn't mean he should take sannyasa. We can continue to be a brahmachari. He can continue to be a grihastha. There is no problem in that. The sannyasa and all, it's a big thing. And to take sannyasa and to lead a life of sannyasa is not a joke. And therefore, it is better to continue in whichever ashrama the person is, and follow Jnana Karma Sannyasa. Because this question of sannyasa, even for the new people, the new entries who come to Vedanta, they ask this question. I see people asking sannyasa because it is something which which is attractive, fascinating. So they ask this question, sannyasa. But there's no need to talk about even sannyasa. Sannyasa is jnana karma sannyasa only. That is what the real sannyasa is. Ramana Maharishi is not a sannyasi. He is atyashtami. He is above sannyasa. So, therefore, sarva karma sannyasa. And sarva karma sannyasa is possible only through giving up the kartrutvam. That is jnanam. And for that jnanam to take place, all these karmas are the preparations. Therefore, the Upanishad also talks about aparavidya. So, aparavidya has significance. And in this section, you will see the Upanishad mentioning Agnihotra karma and also the other karmas which are required to gain the complete result of Agnihotra karma. Agnihotra karma alone cannot give the result, complete result. For that, other satellite rituals are there. All those karmas, the Upanishad will mention. All those karmas Upanishad will mention, and at the end of the Upanishad will say these karmas are limited. These karmas will give limited palam. By seeing the limitations of the results which the karma offers, a person becomes vairagi and approaches the teacher and asks for this knowledge. That is what Shaunaka had done. So, the Upanishad beautifully brings the student to the knowledge, bring the student to knowledge by going to the teacher, which is what Shaunaka had done. So from there onwards, it will talk about Paravidya again. So it will talk about Aparavidya, and then again it will come to the Paravidya topic. And then onwards, it will be Paravidya. So now, this section, which begins with the description of Aparavidya, we will see. And for that, Bhashyakara has given the Sangati. We will read the Sangati Bhashyam. Sangaha Vedaha Aparavidyokta Rigvedo Yajurvedaha Ityadina Sangaha Vedaha. Sangaha means Vedanga. Sangaha is Vedanga. Vedaha is Chaturvedaha. Rigvedaha, Yajurvedaha, Samavedaha, Atharvavedaha, along with its Anga, Vedanga, the 6 Vedangas. These are Aparavidya Ukta. These Vedas and Vedangas were presented as Aparavidya by the mantra 115. Ityadina Ukta. Aparavidya iti Upanishada Ukta. Then Yattadadreshyam Ityadina Namarupam Annam cha jayate Iti antena grantena Uttalakshanam Aksharam Yaya Vidyaya
यया विद्या
अधिगम्यते इति
अधिगम्यते इति
पराविद्या सविशेषणोक्ता
पराविद्या सविशेषणोक्ता
सविशेषणोक्ता विशेषेण विशेषेण सह उक्ता सविशेषणोक्ता. So yattadadresham, important mantra. Yattadadresham agragim agotrama varnam. There we saw the Upanishad defined that which is indefinable, cannot be defined. That Upanishad defined yattadadresham. Ityadina, iti adina, starting from that 116. First Mundaka, first section, sixth mantra onwards, starting from that. Nama Rupam Annam Chajayate. That is the last mantra of the section, first section, ninth mantra. Iti Antena Grantena. Iti Antena Grantena. Ukta Lakshanam Brahma. Ukta Lakshanam. Lakshanam Uktam. The nature of the Aksharam was presented. In this four mantra, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the previous section, first section, the nature of Aksharam was presented. Yaya Vidyaya, by which knowledge Adigamyate, Yaya Vidya Adigamyate, Yaya Vidyaya Adigamyate, by knowing which Brahma can be, Aksharam can be gained, Adigamyate, that knowledge was presented as Paravidya. That knowledge was presented as Paravidya Savisheshena. Savisheshena, that knowledge was presented as Paravidya. Savisheshena Ukta. Savisheshena. Savisheshena means the knowledge, the Paravidya, Aksharavidya was presented with its adjectives, Visheshana, adjective, attributes. What is Visheshana? Vyavartakam Visheshana. That is called Visheshana. Vyavartakam Visheshana. That which distinguishes. That is called Visheshana. Distinguishing a thing from another thing or from the general understanding of a thing. Distinguishing it. When we say a big mosquito, it means the mosquito is not like mountain big. It is big, relatively big. You have seen other mosquitoes and this mosquito is very big. That is Visheshana. So, Visheshana. So, how to distinguish? The distinguishing is done by the content, by the content of the knowledge. So, Savishaya, by the content it is distinguished. The content of Paravidya is different from the content of Aparavidya, that is Veda Purva. Vedanta is different from Veda Purva. So, the content is different. The object of knowledge is different. Therefore, Savisheshena Ukta. It was mentioned, distinguishedly mentioned. Then the next line. Atah param.
Atah param.
Anayogo vidyayogo.
Anayogo vidyayogo.
Vishayo vivektavyo.
Vishayo vivektavyo.
Samsara moksho.
Samsara moksho.
Iti uttaraha grantaha arabhyate.
इति उत्तरः
उत्तरः
आरभ्यते।
आरभ्यते
Atah param. After this. After this. After what? After introducing Paravidya and Aparavidya. After the introduction of Paravidya and Aparavidya, Atah param, Anayoga Vidyayoga, between this Anayoga Vidyayoga Vishayo, between the subject matter, the Vishayas of these two Vidya, Paravidya, Aparavidya, Anayogo Vidyayogo Vishayo Vivektavyo. Vivektavyo. Vivek, that is from the which dhatu, that's which dhatu, not which dhatu with the upasarga. Vivektavya means should be understood distinctly. Should be understood distinctly. Should be the knowledge of these two vidya, Paravidya, Aparavidya. The subject matter of these vidyas should be understood very distinctly. With regard to the content, one must have clear understanding, because the content, the subject matter is different. How it is different? One is samsara, other one is moksha. Aparavidya for samsara and Paravidya is for the moksha. The Vishaya of Aparavidya is Vedapurva is samsara. The Vishaya of Paravidya is Vedanta is moksha. So that is distinctly understood. So Paravidya, whatever you gain in Paravidya, the culmination of Paravidya, the ultimate end of Paravidya, even if you gain, that is the subject matter, that is the subject matter will be samsara only. It will perpetuate samsara only. It will have, you may enjoy all the comforts, you may enjoy all the pleasures, but still you are a samsari only. Now you are a samsari, with all the comforts and luxuries, you continue to be a samsari. In Surgaloka Prapti, and enjoying all the pleasures, still it is, you continue to be a samsari. There always will be the feeling, the need for wanting to improve. That will keep on, that Shruti will keep on will be playing behind. So that will be there always. So it will be a samsara only. Whereas Paravidya will make you free from the need of wanting, free from the desire, desire to be complete by giving the knowledge. Therefore, having distinguished a subject matter, Uttara Grantaha Arabhyate. Uttara Grantaha is the text, which the following text is started after introducing Paravidya and Aparavidya, and the content, the subject matter totally different, and having presented that, then the Uttara Grantaha Arabhyate, the following text is started. Tatra Aparavidya Vishayaha.
तत्र अपराविद्या
विषयः
Okay. Aparavidya Vishayaha or Aparavidya Vishayaha. Okay. Kartradi Sadhana Kriya Palabheda Rupaha.
साधनक्रिया फलबोधरूपः
Samsaraha. Anadihi. Anantaha. Dukkha Swarupatvad. Hatavyaha. Pratyekam Shariribhihi.
एकं शरीरिभिः
Samasthena. Nadi Strot Nadi Srotovat.
Srotovat.
I think it's a mistake. It must be Nadi Srota, flow, not Shro, not Shakara, Talavi Shakara. It must be Dante Sakara. Nadi Srotovat. Srota means the flow of the river. Sravati, from that only comes. Srotovat. It is Dantya Sakara. Avyavacheda Rupa Sambandha.
Avyavachyarupasambandah.
Tatra. Tatra. Kutra. Tatra is with regard to these two vidyas. Tatra is the Saptami with regard to these two vidya, two disciplines, Paravidya, Aparavidya. Aparavidya Vishayaha. The Aparavidya Vishaya, what is its area of operation? Its area of operation is Dvaita. It is Dvaita. So, where this Karta Karma, where this Drik Drishya, the Veda is there it is Aparavidya only. So, where the duality is there, that is Aparavidya. So, Karta Karma, Bhakta Bhagavan, Drik Drishya, Aparavidya Vishayaha. Another way also we can present, that is what here it is given. Another way of presenting is Kartradi Sadhana Kriya Palabheda Rupaha. All the Karakas. All the Karaka, Karta, Karma, Karana, Sampradana, all the Karakas. What is Karaka? Kriya Nirvartakam Karakam. That which generates action is called Karaka. Karakas are responsible for the action. Kriyam Nirvartayati iti Karakam. The factors of action is called Karaka. So any action you take which involves these Karakas, Karta, Karma, Karanam, etc. So the Kriya is generated by these Karakas. Karaka Janya Kriya. So Karta is there, and as Karma, therefore Palam will be there. So Palam will be there, and the Palam, the form of Papa and Punya, which goes to the Karta and becomes a Bhokta. Again he does Karma with all the Karana for certain purpose, in certain condition, certain place he does. All the Karakas are involved. So this is Aparavidya. This is Aparavidya because it perpetuates samsara. Where the karmas are involved, where karmas are involved with all these Karakas for gaining the limited results, there, then it is Aparavidya only. Therefore, Aparavidya is presented as Kartradi Sadhana Kriya Pala Bheda Rupaha. Bheda Rupaha. Bheda means different. So, Rupaha in the form of varieties of sadhana kriya, Kartradi Sadhana Kriya Pala. Kartradi, Karta, Karma, etc. All the Karakas. Then the Kriya, the action. Kartradi Sadhana means Karaka. Karta, Karma, all these sadhana, they are the sadhanams. Then Kriya, the action. And the action having corresponding result, Kriya Palam, Karma Palam. So, this Aparavidya is characterized in the form of the varieties of these Karakas, Karta, etc. and Karma, the Kriya, and the result. Therefore, it is duality. Plurality is duality. When there is more than one, two or three, what may be the number, it's all duality only. Duality means not only two. More than one is duality. More than two, duality only. So Kriya Karaka Pala. That is samsara. Another way of presenting samsara is kriyakaraka pala veda rupaha samsaraha. Another way also we can present this Aparavidya Vishaya, where the three things are there. Pramata is there, Pramanam is there, Prameya is there. Pramata, Prameya, Pramanam. Three things are involved. Duality. Another way of presenting samsara. Samsara can be presented, Aparavidya can be presented in many ways. So here Bhashyakara presents Aparavidya as Kartari Sadhana Kriya Palaveda Rupaha iti. What is the result of that? Samsaraha is the result. Samyak Saranam, Samyak Sarati, Samyak Saranam iti samsaraha. That which Sarati, which moves swiftly, which moves, keeps on moving, Saranam, is called samsara. So, Aparavidya, which is characterized by the varieties of these karakas and karma and the karma pala, it is samsaraha. It is samsara only. And this samsara it is anadihi. We don't know when this samsara started. It is anadihi. Avidya is anadihi. Therefore, samsara is also anadi only. When this ajnanam started, we cannot say. That is why ajnanam, avidya is anadi. But avidya has got, it is anadi, but it has got anta. It can be ended. It has got its end. It can be ended by knowledge. Avidya cannot be ananta. Then avidya cannot be removed. Even by knowledge it cannot be removed because it is ananta. But it is not. Avidya is anadihi, but antaha. Avidya is anadi, therefore samsara is also anadi. When this samsara started, we cannot say. And we are not interested in knowing when the samsara started. Now I am in samsara, I want a solution for it. Our goal is not to investigate into the beginning of samsara. You cannot probe, you cannot investigate the beginning of samsara. It is without beginning. Upanishad says without beginning. It is beginningless. It is beginningless. Beginninglessly, it is present, it is there, but it can be, it can be end, it can have an end. Samsaraha anadihi anantaha. Here anantaha means endless. Anantaha means endless. But this endless means it can be ended by knowledge. Minus knowledge, it cannot be end. It cannot end. That is called endless. Any problem, the problems what we face in life, whatever may be the problem, any problem, that over a period of time, it gets resolved, even without your effort. The problem will not continue forever. It will get resolved, or by certain action you can end the problem. By certain action it can end the problem. And this samsara problem, it cannot end on its own. Samsara doesn't end naturally. It cannot end. It can end only by jnana. Therefore, anantaha, it cannot end naturally. Or the word anantaha can also be interpreted as it is anantaha means it is present. It is present in infinite ways. The samsara present in artha, kama, and so many other forms. It is present. It is there in so many other forms. The samsara is present in a person. Anantaha. And the samsara is, whose nature is dukkha swarupam. Dukkha Swarupatvat, because its nature is Dukkha Swarupam, therefore, Hatavyaha, Tyaktavyaha, it should be given up. It should be, it cannot be choose to be, it cannot choose to give up. It should be given up means it should be eliminated. It should be removed. It is removable, therefore it should be removed. It should be eliminated. Dukkha Swarupatvat Hatavyaha, it should be removed. It should be removed by Pratyekam Shariribihi. Shariribihi means by Sharirin, that is by the jivas. By the jivas, Pratyeka means by individual. Pratyeka means ekam prati, by each jivas. It should be Hatavyaha, this Dukkha Swarupa Samsara, which is Anadi and which is Anantaha, present in many ways. It should be removed by every individual. Pratyekam. It is by every individual, it has to be removed. How? By gaining knowledge. It is not mentioned, but we know it. This samsara to be removed by every individual. The removal of ajnanam by one individual will not lead to the removal of samsara for all the jivas. So here, you have to note, there is a vada called Eka Jiva Vada. Eka Jiva Vada, they argue there is one avidya, there is only one avidya and one atma. So if avidya is removed for this atma, avidya is removed, this atma being one, therefore everybody will get moksha. This is Eka Jiva Vada. That is not true. So Bhagavad Pada, it dismisses that Vada, Eka Jiva Vada. Every individual has to gain this moksha by removing this avidya. Therefore, Pratyekam Shariribihi. Atma being one, it is present in all the shariras. Does it mean many atmas? No. The same atma present in all the shariram. And atma is, it is as though covered by this avidya. Therefore, removal of avidya of one jiva will lead to removal of avidya for all the jivas. This is the argument of Eka Jiva Vadis that we dismiss. No, it is not like that. Bhashyakara says, Pratyekam Shariribihi Jivaihi Hatavyaha. By every jiva has to work out. Every jiva has to remove this samsara, this avidya. So, therefore, samsara is to be removed. Samasthena. Samasthena means samastasya bhavaha samastya. Tena, samasthena. The samsara to be removed completely. The samsara, no baki, no shesha. It should be removed completely. The samsara should be removed completely by all the jivas, pratyeka jivas individually. Each one have to work to remove it. And therefore, samasthena pratyeka shariribihi jivaihi hatavyaha, to be removed. Nadi srotavat avyacheda rupaha sambandhaha. This samsara is avyavacheda rupa sambandhaha. Avyavacheda means gap, separation. Vyavacheda is gap. Avyavacheda means no gap. There is no separation. There is no break. There is no interruption. Avyavacheda. Vyavacheda na vidyate. Yasmin. Avyavachedaha. That avyavachedaha rupam. Yasya saha avyavacheda rupa sambandhaha. Avyavachedaha rupam yasya saha eva sambandhaha avyavacheda rupa sambandhaha. That is the samsara which is in the form of no interruption, no break. It is continuous. It is continuous. The samsara is continuous. So therefore, this continuous, it is like what? Nadi srotovat, like the flowing of a river. The river is continuous. So like the river which is continuous, the samsara is also continuous. Therefore, it has to be eliminated. It has to be eliminated pratyekam sharirivihi samasthena completely. Because it is continuous, therefore it has to be removed completely. Therefore it has to be removed completely by each jiva independently. By each jiva independently. The samsara which is the bandha which continues like the river. The flowing river is continuous. You don't see any gap or interruption between the flow of the waters in the river. Similarly, this samsara river also is continuous. Therefore, every jiva has to independently remove this samsara, this aparavidya has to be eliminated completely. Iti Bhashyakara says. Then the next line. Tad upashamaha lakshanaha.
Tad upashamaha lakshanaha.
Mokshaha.
Mokshaha.
Paravidya vishayaha.
Paravidya
Vishayah.
Anadihi anantaha. Anadyanantaha.
Anadyanantaha.
Ajaraha.
Ajaraha.
Amaraha.
Amaraha.
Amritaha.
Amritaha.
Abhayaha.
Abhayaha.
Shuddhaha.
Shuddhaha.
Prasannaha.
Prasannaha.
Atma pratishta lakshanaha.
Swattma-pratishta-lakshanaha.
Paramanandaha.
Paramanandaha.
Advayaha iti.
Advayaha
Iti.
So this line talks about the paravidya vishaya, the lakshanam of paravidya, which we will see. We'll see that in the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ
धन्यवाद गुरुजी
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ
धन्यवाद जी
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ